Hello, my little rain clouds. I wanted to make another Q&A audio, question and answer audio, because a bunch of people asked me to make another one. So I did. You asked, and then I asked you for questions, and then you asked those questions. And here we are. I made a little YouTube post thing, and people responded and left some lovely comments saying lots of nice things, and some of them contained questions. So I will do my best to answer those questions. I might not do all of them. There's quite a few. There's like 2 pages worth in a Word document. But let's see how we go. Where to start? What's your first thought in the morning? I don't know, because I think I'm pretty groggy most of the time and not really in a thinking kind of mode. It's probably something very mundane and boring, like, what time is it? And then, of course, the inevitable answer, showtime. I'm John Lawrence and the place to be. 2 pints of Sam Adams, but I'm working on 3. Ha! Those redcoats don't want it with me, 'cause I will prop, chip, prop these cops till I'm free. That's from Hamilton. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably something like that. And then I'll just, I don't know, reach over and look at my phone and see what time it is, and if I have any messages or anything. And just kind of groggily start my day. I tend to, read some websites and stuff to just give myself some time to boot up and start thinking, and then I'll go and have a shower and get some breakfast or something. What inspires you in difficult times? I think just the human spirit, just seeing what humanity is capable of, the good things that humanity is capable of, just seeing the small acts of kindness and the wonderful, weird, cute little things that humanity does, the weird stuff about us that's great and lovely, and just people trying so hard with all of their struggles and their setbacks and their difficulties, and just seeing people being resilient and hopeful and compassionate and lovely. Just like reading comments from little rain clouds and stuff who have found my audios helpful, and seeing them overcome things and just start to heal and recover is really inspirational. And it makes me feel good about myself too. And it helps me to see hope and potential, I think. Yeah. How do you cheer yourself up on sad days or hard days? I get by with a little help from my friends. I think, reaching out to friends, spending quality time with people I love really helps. Sometimes watching videos of my nephews. They are very cute and funny, and they cheer me up. Sometimes recording something will make me feel better about myself as well, and can help get me into a better headspace. And reading nice comments and stuff can help too. Seeing that I've helped people is also really nice and helps cheer me up too. If you're a book, what would this book be about? That is a very good question. Probably a self-help book. I think that's a tendency in the more recent audios. Is I like teaching people and helping them to understand themselves and the world and their mind, and helping people reach their potential, helping them learn new skills, those sorts of things. I think it would be a self-help book with elements of psychology, with elements of wisdom and life advice and personal stories. There would be a lot of analogies, because I like using analogies. I like linking concepts together and using metaphors and analogies and things like that. There would be probably some dorky jokes and stuff in there too. Some pop culture references, perhaps. I don't know. Yeah. I think previously it probably would have been a fiction book, and now it's not, which I think speaks a lot to the kind of personal journey that I've undertaken, and that's quite nice to reflect on, actually. How are you, genuinely? You know what? I'm pretty good. I've had my ups and downs, definitely, but I think at the moment today, I'm feeling pretty good. Been maybe a little bored in places today, but overall, I think pretty positive. Avoiding some schoolwork maybe a little bit, but not too bad. Yeah, I think I had a rough couple of weeks, like a month or two ago maybe, and now I think things are on an upward trend. So I think that's nice. Yeah. Have you had some water today? I have. I drink water every day. Maybe not as much as I should, but I've got some right here, and I will drink it now. Refreshing. Are you taking care of yourself? I mean, I think people's definition would differ, but yeah, I think I'm taking care of myself in several different ways, and doing what I can. There are definitely things I could improve upon. There are definitely elements that could do with some addressing, but yeah, I think I'm doing pretty decent. What's 3 things that make you smile? My nephews. They are very cute and typically pretty affectionate and sweet. Not so much the older one. He can be a bit changeable, but they're very cute and they make me smile. My friends make me smile. And recently I have been encountering a cat when I go for walks. At least sometimes I'll encounter the cat. And the cat is very friendly and has been letting me pet the cat. And that makes me smile as well. I think it possibly was in the last Q&A audio I mentioned being fairly uncomfortable around animals. And I still sort of am, but I'm starting to explore that and work through that with this very friendly cat, which has been nice. How's life been for you lately? And what is something you want to accomplish in the near future for yourself? Yeah, as I said, life has had tough moments, but I think is going pretty decently at the moment. I would like to accomplish... There's a couple audios I'd like to make, but maybe less near future, but still something sort of on the horizon, probably like later in next year. I'd like to do my placement for my counselling course. I would like to start actually working as a counsellor, getting some genuine practical experience. I think that would be really, really nice, really gratifying to start putting things into practice and seeing the effects of what I do and seeing how it all kind of fits together, I think, and just really getting that kind of hands-on experience, because I've dabbled in it here and there with like practice workshops and things, but yeah, I think just doing it for real, it'll be scary, it'll be intimidating in some ways, but also really exciting and fulfilling. So that's something I'd like to do. I need to do a couple more subjects before I'm really ready, I think. But that's on the horizon. Yeah. Now for a very different kind of question, a little bit lighter. What's your favorite color? My favorite color is purple. I like lots of different colors, but historically, purple has been my favorite. Very royal color, very rich and regal, and yeah, just pleasant to the eye. What is your favorite joke or funny story? Nothing comes to mind off the top of my head. I don't know about favorites. Elon Musk has launched a new restaurant on the moon, apparently. And the reviews are kind of mixed about it. Apparently the food is out of this world, but there's no atmosphere. I don't know. That's the first joke that springs to mind. How did you come out to your family, or have you? I've not come out as bisexual. It's not particularly important to me. I don't think my family would be like super chill about it, but I also don't think they'd be particularly hateful about it. I just don't really need more like uncomfortable interactions with them. And yeah, we just don't really have that kind of relationship where I would want to share those sorts of things with them. It doesn't really feel important to me personally. Other than games and audios, do you enjoy other hobbies? And what is your favorite board game? Yeah, I mean, like games is definitely a big one for me. But I do enjoy doing some other things from time to time, sure. Can I think of any off the top of my head? No. But yes, probably. I've been wanting to get more hobbies, admittedly. I think that would do me good to have more of them. And I guess a lot of my hobbies are game related, or some forms of games. Like I used to play role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. And I do enjoy board games as well. I love board games, actually. Board games are super fun. My favorite. Oh, it's so tough to pick a favorite. The Quacks of Quedlinburg is a really fun game. It's a really good like entry-level game. It's accessible, it's fun, it's fairly simple, it's exciting. You are potion sellers in like a medieval European sort of town, probably German, I don't know. And you are like charlatans. You're like fakes. You're making fake potions that don't really do anything but look impressive. And so you have like a bag of tokens that you shuffle around, and you draw them out blindly, and you make a potion. You try and make it as impressive as possible without it exploding in your face. And it's just really exciting. It's like gambling without any of the actual like crippling debt and addiction that comes with it. It's great. But honestly, I love so many games, and it is hard to pick just one. I've considered making an audio about all the board games that I like. Just rambling on about that. I might do that at some point. How do you deal with being burnt out with things like school, work, or everyday life? Not well, historically. I've been getting better about that, though. I made an audio about that, actually. I have been trying to set healthier boundaries and not overdo things, not take on too much responsibility, giving myself better delineation between work and life, and not, just trying to be everyone's personal therapist. That's helped a lot. Doing qigong and going for walks and things, taking some time for myself. Things like that, basically. Just trying to prioritize my well-being. Still not great at it, but I'm doing better. Do you own any pets? Do you like pets? And what pets do you want? I don't own any pets. I have had some like goldfish when I was a little kid. That's about it. I don't particularly like pets, although I'm starting to warm up to this particular cat. But yeah, I'm not really an animal person at this point, and I don't really want a pet at this stage. But you know, who knows where I'll be at in like 10 years' time. I was wondering if you were considering branching your content out more in the future, like maybe live streams or podcasts. And someone else has asked, would you ever consider making a podcast to branch out to other listeners? I'd like to hear more audios from you on a consistent basis. Is there a reason why audios have been so few this year? I don't know that the audios really have been so few. I mean, I've been studying, and you know, I have depression, so that makes things harder. But I think also I have sort of changed up my approach a little bit. But I've always preferred to err on the side of quality rather than quantity. And I don't push myself to stick to a schedule or anything like that. I don't want to make it into a chore or work. I don't want it to be soulless or joyless or an obligation. Particularly as I tend to become very avoidant about those things. But also, I think that there are plenty of people that you can listen to if you want regularly scheduled content and consistent content. I offer something different, and I think that it is better for being different. I think that doing things how I want, when I want, makes it more personal and unique, and gives it a certain appeal that it wouldn't have if I were just churning out like cookie cutter content every 2 days or something. Yeah, I like making weird sort of niche stuff from time to time. I like mixing it up and not just doing what's popular. I like experimenting with different kinds of audios. I like switching it up, and you know, I'll make a cuddle audio, and then I'll make a psychoeducation audio, and then I'll make a gameplay audio, and who knows what else. Podcasts and live streams. So live streams I could potentially do, although my microphone doesn't really like to record live. It tends to need some noise reduction because my computer is a bit on the noisy side. Also, I live in Australia, and the time difference is probably going to be a real problem for a lot of people, particularly if they live in America, which I would imagine a lot of my audience probably does. Podcasts, a lot of people have asked me to do podcasts, and I don't really understand why. Like, I don't know what my podcast would be, and if, like, audios, I would say, are very different from conventional podcasts. I could certainly just, like, upload my things as a podcast, but I don't think that would really work. Like, a lot of podcasts have guests because they tend to be on the longer side of things, and just one person talking by themselves for an extended period of time is not, like, super entertaining and tends to be pretty tough to do. But I don't know. I guess a podcast would probably be more like a ramble audio on a specific topic or something, which I kind of already do. I don't know. A lot of people say do a podcast, but they don't say what that podcast would be or how it's meant to work. So I would say probably not. Unless a really good idea comes along that seems like, oh yeah, that'd be a fantastic fit for me, I'm probably not going to do a podcast. But maybe. Never say never, I guess. Would you ever do an audiobook series on the channel? Maybe. I've recorded a couple of book chapters here and there, but typically it's a lot of reading. Like, books are long. And I like to do things to a high standard of quality, and I just find it really tough to read a book for that long, that consistently, with that level of quality. It takes a lot of focus and energy and time, particularly if you're committing to doing the whole book. It's a big commitment. Like, we're talking a lot of audios. Even for a relatively short book, it's quite a lot. And there's no guarantee that people are going to listen for all of it. There's no guarantee that it's going to be worth all of the effort that goes into it. And also, copyright things are a bit nebulous. I don't really understand them. Typically, if someone records an audiobook, they are usually paid at the start of the process. And so it's like, well, I've got a big lump sum payment to sort of motivate me through this long process that takes a lot of work. And so that helps them. But if you're doing it all kind of on spec, if you're just doing something and hoping that you will get a return on the investment of time, it's not a great deal. Also, I would be very unlikely to get any money from it. I've made nothing from YouTube. It's all I think $300 maybe total for the entirety of the time that I've been on YouTube, which is not great. But yeah, no, it's not. I mean, it's not about the money for me anyway. I barely make any money, but the idea of doing an audiobook series is a lot of work for probably pretty little payoff, to be honest. And yeah, I don't know. I like recording different things, so just keep coming back to the same book. It'll probably get pretty tedious, I think. I recorded a chapter of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I borrowed it from the library and thought it might make a good audio. Turns out, no. It's a really weird book. I've recorded a couple of chapters of different books here and there, but it's not fantastic, to be honest. And I kind of feel like there are already audiobooks out there that are way, way better and done professionally, and you could just listen to them. And they're not making the kind of content that I make. So I kind of like to just do what I do and do it well, personally. Have you considered writing and voicing a full story, or maybe a short serial of some kind? I know from past audios that you have the sound effects and accent skills to pull off quite a tale, but do you have the time or desire for it? No, not really. That's a lot of work. Again, I mean, I would say arguably even more work than just recording an audiobook series. And again, not a particularly sound investment of time and effort. I already put quite a lot of effort into my audios, and that would be so much more. It would have to be a real passion project, or it would have to be some sort of a stable gig. And yeah, at the moment, I don't really have the confidence in my technical skill, and I don't really have the ease of use. I don't have those skills down pat. I don't have the technology and the programs and the experience to do it easily. So it would be a lot of effort to learn and improve and do all of those things and write a story and voice it. And again, typically you need to do multiple characters for it to work, because if it's just one person talking for a long time, it's kind of boring. So you'd either have to bring in other people, or you'd have to do lots of different voices yourself, which I could do, but it tends to be pretty taxing. Yeah, it's a lot of work for not a whole lot of payoff. And I could easily see just not really getting a lot of feedback or a lot of response about it, and getting disheartened and being like, well, I'm already 3 episodes in and nobody seems to care, I'll just stop. Which I don't want to do, but I could certainly see that happening. So yeah, I mean, I think I've dabbled with the idea here and there, but it's not really of interest. And to be honest, I've already sort of moved away from narrative role play kind of stuff because I kind of enjoy doing other things, and I think that there's more value in those sorts of things. So I'm not as big on the idea of doing stories for entertainment so much. I tend to focus more on comfort and education and things like that nowadays. Are your audios scripted? They are not anymore. Sometimes they used to be back in the day, but most of the time now they are completely improvised, or I'll have like a general idea of what I want to do with an audio, but I don't write a script down, and I don't read it or perform it or anything like that. I think I can't even remember the last time I would have done one. Probably if it's a very delicate subject and I want to make sure that my words are appropriate. So if it was something, I don't know, like trying to address dysphoria or something like that, maybe some sort of gender issue or trauma or something like that, I might want to script it so that it could be more careful and precise. But even then, I think nowadays I just tend to sort of follow my heart and do what comes naturally. I may have a scripted audio that I might be doing in the nearish future, but we'll see. Also, how long does it take to make an audio? I'm talking about editing, scripting, retakes, etc. It varies wildly depending on the length of the audio, but typically quite a lot longer than the audio actually lasts. So if it's a 5-minute audio, it might take like half an hour or something to kind of organize it beforehand, edit it, render it, and things like that. But then if it's like an hour-long audio, it could take a lot longer. It's not as intensive as it used to be. I used to edit the hell out of things. I used to try and make it sound as perfect as possible. I was a big perfectionist about it, and it was terrible. It drove me nuts, but I'm much better about things now. And I think there's less scripting now, often no scripting at all. So I don't need to write out scripts, and I also then don't need to do like retakes of things because there's no like wrong line. I mean, sometimes if I'm improvising, I might say something and go like, actually, I don't really like that, or find that I want to take a different approach to something. But yeah, typically not so much anymore. So there's less editing to do, and I'm less of a perfectionist about sound issues, although I'm quite like sound sensitive, so I like to make it something that isn't going to upset people's ears or take them out of the experience or startle them, anything like that. So I still do some editing, but I don't know. If it's like an hour audio, it might take me like 2, maybe 3 hours, depending on the audio. And that's not including rendering like a super long video. Like if I'm making a gameplay video or something, I'll typically just leave it to render overnight because it will take several hours sometimes to render that video. What is a video idea you've wanted to make but haven't for whatever reason? I have a lot of these. I would say that one of the big ones that I had not done but wanted to was the how we respond to trauma and stress audio. I had wanted to do that for a long time, and I built it up into this big thing. And I'd gotten sick, and so I couldn't do it for a while, and so I put it off. But it was a very important one that I wanted to do, and so I did eventually make it. I've wanted to make an audio about anger for a long time. I talked about it a little bit on the What Feelings Are For audio, but anger is a really important topic. So many people have problems with anger, and I'm not talking about people who are too angry, although that certainly can be a problem, but typically there are a lot of people, particularly rain clouds, who are not angry enough, who have disconnected themselves from their anger. And they need it. They need it to protect themselves. So I've wanted to talk about that. I've wanted to make an audio about grief, but one of the subjects that I will have to do for my course is on grief counseling. So I figured I'd leave it until I've studied that, and then I can presumably make a better audio. There's a storytelling kind of exercise that I did in my trauma therapy class as well, where you just kind of give someone a very vague framework, story structure kind of framework, and let them imprint specific details onto it and kind of tell their own story. And so you take them through this guided experience where you're not really giving them much direction, and so they're able to kind of interpret it in a way that is personally meaningful. And I thought that would be a really interesting thing to try, but it's something that I haven't really done before, and I'm not terribly confident in it. And yeah, I think you need to take the right approach. So I haven't really got around to playing around with that. God, what else? So many things, to be honest. So many different kinds of audios. I want to make some more fatherly kind of audios, not daddy audios, fatherly kind of audios. That would be nice as well. Yeah, I think the big one is like anger, really, but a lot of ones, to be honest. All sorts of things about emotions and psychology and beliefs and self-worth and things. I wanted to make one about confidence as well, and how we become more confident. Yeah, just lots of stuff. I've got all sorts of ideas kicking around in there, and maybe at some point I will do them. But yeah, I don't know. What's your favorite song at the moment? I wouldn't say it's my favorite song, but the song that I have been listening to quite a lot over the past couple of days and has been stuck in my head is Hotel California by the Eagles. Don't know why, it just kind of popped in there, but it's a good song. It's an interesting song. Yeah, my favorite song though. It's too tough to pick. I love so many songs. I've got a whole playlist full of music recommendations, and that's like barely scratching the surface. Music's great. How is your study going? It was not going well for a while. I'm studying family counseling at the moment, and I thought that it was going to be something very different to what it is. And I had kind of a rough start with it, where I didn't really feel like I should be taking that subject for a bunch of different reasons, and that made it hard to get into, which made me not want to get into it even more because I was behind. But since doing some of my online classes and going to a workshop, I've found that I'm liking it more. I'm still kind of procrastinating on some readings, and I've got an assignment that I still need to start working on, but I'm finding that it's not as intimidating as it seemed, and I'm seeing the applications for individual therapy as well as using it in a group, couple, family kind of context. And it's got some interesting things, definitely. But it was not quite what I thought it was going to be. Still procrastinating quite a bit, still struggling. I really hoped that this semester I would get myself in gear, and I was excited to do the subject, and so I thought it would be like an easy win. It would be like, yeah, this is going to make me feel really motivated, but unfortunately it did not. But I'm trying to get better at things. it's a bit of an uphill journey, but it's tough. But I'm trying to do better with things, and I got an assignment back and got some good feedback on it. I did better than I thought, and there was some very helpful feedback there as well. So that was nice. What kind of content would you like to do more on your channel? Or something you want to do but can't or haven't for some reason? I already kind of answered this, but I think more educational ramble sort of videos. I really like doing them. Not everybody is a big fan of them, but I like doing them. And I think that they're really important. They may not be what you want, but I think they're what you need. I think, yeah, sharing that information and helping people to learn more about what's going on in their mind, in their lives, in their body potentially, and helping people learn to sort of live better and take better care of themselves and challenge their negative beliefs and things like that. I really like making that sort of stuff. Teaching people is a big part of my values, helping people and helping people understand concepts and things like that, explaining to them in accessible ways is really something that I love doing. And yeah, I like doing the gaming videos too. They're a bit of an odd sort of approach. They're quite different from my usual content, but I'm enjoying that, and I like sharing games and stuff with people too. And yeah, also not terribly popular. I know that a lot of people really just want the boyfriend stuff and the daddy stuff. They want the relationship role plays. They want the cuddling. They want bedtime stories. They want stuff like that. But I'll probably do some of that stuff too. But yeah, I don't know. I like mixing it up, and I like doing audios that are in line with my values and audios that kind of enrich people and nurture them. Yeah. An audio I can't do is one that involves humming. I'd like to do some like gentle humming to make people feel comforted and at ease, but my computer makes a specific kind of whine sound, and a sort of high-pitched keening whining noise, and the noise removal program does not like taking that out of the hum, because the hum, I guess, contains like those frequencies or something, and so it sounds awful to me, at least. So I haven't really hummed much in my audios. What kind of audios are your favorite to make? So I like the psychoeducation rambly kind of ones, but they do tend to take a lot of effort and time and thought, and they're difficult to structure and things like that. I don't know what my favorite are to make, to be honest. I like elements of reading bedtime stories and things. I like elements of doing, nice sort of comforting things. I like educating people. I like explaining stuff. I like doing a mixture. What about the hardest audios to make? Singing audios can be pretty tough, because I'm not fantastic at singing. I don't really know what I'm doing. I've never had any training or anything like that. Those kinds of educational rambles can also be kind of hard. And also the cuddling kind of audios can be pretty tough, because there's not like a whole lot to say, but you kind of need to have audible reminders that you're there to make people sort of feel the experience. And so I tend to say like, yeah, sort of things a lot. which people have noticed and commented on. They make little snarky, smart alecky comments about it. But like, what are you going to do? You got to say something. You got to fill the air with sounds. So yeah, those can be a little tough, a little kind of awkward to do, and yeah, like people want really long cuddling audios, but like, I don't know what to say. Yeah. Oh, and do you speak any other languages? Ja, ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, aber ich habe die meisten meiner Wörter vergessen. The grammar is probably all wrong. I speak some German, but I've forgotten most of it. Certainly, like the grammar is just completely gone. The vocabulary is mostly gone. I've forgotten quite a lot of it. I've probably still got some, but yeah, like I studied German for several years in high school, but have not used it much since. I learned like a little bit of Japanese from Duolingo, but I didn't really keep with it because I found Duolingo really hard to use. I didn't find that it was really explaining things to me much. It was just kind of rote memorization, which is not my jam. That's not what I'm into. Is there a language that you'd like to learn? So my sister-in-law is Japanese, and my brother's wife is Japanese, and so my nephew is being raised bilingual, and my sister-in-law's parents are from Japan, and they do speak some English. They're like pretty decent with it, but clearly they do sort of struggle with it. And so speaking some Japanese could kind of be nice to assist that and kind of connect the families a bit more, maybe. But it's also like a pretty hard language, and I'm not terribly interested in learning another language and don't think it's going to be like that useful that often. So yeah, I don't know. I've tried my hand at learning languages, but I don't find it particularly easy or really that enjoyable. It was kind of fun learning German for a while, but then at a certain point, the complexity of the grammar really ramps up, and you've got all of these cases and tenses, and you've got to remember like all the genders of words. I don't understand why nouns have gender, and then like each gender and the conjugation of things changes in different tenses and different cases, and it's just so many rules that don't really make sense to me, and it's so much memorization, and I'm not much of a traveler, to be honest, so it's not really something I feel like I'm really going to use much. Yeah. Das tut mir leid, aber ich weiß nicht. It's a shame, but I don't know. I'm not really much for languages. But yeah. Guten Tag. Ich heiße Regnet, I guess. Rainy. Maybe you just say Rainy. Ich heiße Rainy. Ich spreche Englisch. Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, aber nicht so gut. Yeah, I don't know. Do you believe that you control your emotions by tricking yourself or by coping with yourself? That's kind of an odd question. I'm not really sure if I understand the meaning behind it, but I don't really think that you control your emotions so much. You regulate them. Ideally, emotional regulation is a skill and something that typically takes place in the forebrain, the upper front part, the prefrontal cortex and such. I think like emotion needs to be acknowledged. It needs to be heard. You need to say, okay, I can see that you're there. I can see that I'm feeling this thing, but I don't necessarily need to act on it, right? Like, it's okay that I'm feeling angry, but I don't need to punch that person. I can handle it in other ways. I can express it in other ways, or I can, try and take a different approach by investigating things or whatever. But yeah, I think like you don't really control your emotions. Your emotions just kind of happen, and you can regulate them by deciding what to do in response to them. And you can change emotions to some degree by challenging thoughts and trying to think different thoughts. But I wouldn't say that control is necessarily the word I would use for that. But yeah, I suppose you cope with yourself to a degree. You learn to downregulate certain kind of behavioral paths, and you learn to soothe yourself, calm yourself in certain ways. Breathing is a good one. Taking longer, slower, deeper breaths and things like that. And I think just give your emotions some space to be heard and acknowledged, and say like, yeah, I'm taking that under advisement, but I'm not just acting impulsively on that emotion. I will consider it in my decision, but I'm not making my decision solely based on that emotion. How do you decide on what to record? Do you ever think about the type of person listening? Yeah, sure, all the time. I make lots of different kinds of audios for lots of different kinds of people, and I try and be pretty mindful about my audience. Obviously, I don't know everybody who's listening and who's going to want to listen to certain kinds of audios, but I think you get a sense of the kinds of demographics that make up your audience, I suppose. I tend to try and record more gender neutral things nowadays because, frankly, it's less work, but also it reaches more people. And I honestly think most audios don't need to be gendered. Certainly, some people really like gendered terms of affection, gendered terms of praise. They like being specifically and deliberately included. They like being seen and recognized and catered to as their gender. But there are plenty of people who don't really care. And, I think that once in a while having some gendered audios is fine, but making one gendered audio that can potentially appeal to every demographic in my audience, it seems like a smarter and more considerate choice than just churning out audios for the same kind of audience. And that tends to exclude people, which I don't want to do. Like, I could probably be a lot more successful if I catered exclusively to cis women, for example. But I don't want to do that because that's not who I am, and that's not what's important to me. It's important that my channel and my audios are inclusive, and that people feel welcome here, that people see that there is content for them, both in a specific gendered kind of sense, and also because there are lots of audios that are accessible to everybody. And there's a lot of different genders out there. There's a lot of different types of people out there, people from different backgrounds, people who have different needs, who have different mental illnesses and conditions and things. So I don't want to divide up the audience unnecessarily if I can avoid it. So once in a while I'll make something for a specific audience, and trust that the rest of the audience will just be okay with that and be patient and know that other kinds of audios will be coming that, will be for them. But in general, yeah, I like to make things more broadly accessible nowadays. And so, yeah, I think a lot of the time I will just try and be very mindful about making my audios as accessible as possible. I think you tend to be able to be quite non-specific with a lot of things, and because I think a lot of things are very universal to the human experience. I think that so many of us struggle with the same kinds of issues and have the same kinds of feelings and thoughts and beliefs and the same sort of needs. I think that, for example, I think that cis men and cis women can certainly like different kinds of intimacy, but I think in general sense, we all kind of need the same thing. You can dress it up slightly different. You can use different language if you want to, but I think at the end of the day, you just kind of want to be held. You want to be told that you're like valued and appreciated and desired and those sorts of things. So yeah, like I think a lot of it is pretty universal, to be honest. In terms of deciding on what to record, a lot of the time it's just what I feel like, something that's been kicking around in my head, something that seems important to me, something that I think will help people, that people might need. And I get input from my Patreon supporters. I get input from subscribers and commenters and things. I'm mindful of at least some demographics in my audience, and so we'll try and make audios relevant to them from time to time. I'm very aware, for instance, that there's quite a few trans men and trans guys or transmasculine people in my audience, and so from time to time I might make something that is specifically addressed to them and directed at an issue that is relevant for them, like dysphoria or gender validation or some male-on-male affection or whatever. I'm aware that a lot of people have pretty terrible relationships with their fathers or didn't have father figures or male role models, and so I decided that I wanted to make kind of a chill hangout audio that gave them just a little bit of that father experience in a healthy, sort of safe way. But I'm also aware that a lot of people don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, that some people are triggered by that some people are really uncomfortable by that, or that they just don't want that. And so I made a couple of different versions. I'll tend to try and make a more generic version of something, where I'm just, being like a non-specific kind of relationship, and then I'll have like an older brother version or whatever as well. So yeah, I think trying to do those kinds of things that are relevant to people's needs, but giving people multiple options to make it more accessible is really good to do. And yeah, I've got a requests channel in the Rainy Day Audios Discord server, and patrons can request things. People sometimes message me or whatever and let me know. Also, I can look at what's popular. I can look at what people have responded to, what comments have said was really helpful or things like that. So yeah, if something seems like there's value there and that people need that, I might do it. But typically it's just what I feel like doing. How often do you get commission requests? And of those, how many do you take? I don't get a lot of commission requests. I've had a fair few. Some of them just fall apart because, people's finances change, or they aren't necessarily that invested in the idea and they were just sort of checking it out or whatever. Also, I tend to be pretty choosy about things because, again, I can get avoidant about things and turn it into an obligation if I'm not really on board with the idea. So typically, I don't want to just do something for money. Typically, I want it to be something that I care about and find important, and also I will be paid for. Like, that's nice, but it needs to be the kind of audio that I would want to make anyway. Some people have requested that I do things that I'm not comfortable with or that I just don't really care about. And I've just politely said, no, I'm not really interested in doing that, but thank you anyway. I've had some commissions, but typically I don't do that many. And a lot of the people in my audience aren't really in the financial position to be able to commission things anyway. I think a lot of my audience is probably having financial difficulty, unfortunately. There's a lot of young people, there's a lot of queer people, there's a lot of mentally ill people, there's a lot of millennials. So yeah, it's not really the primo audience for commissions, but I think also I'm a lot choosier about them anyway. So yeah, not that many. Where do you most often pull your inspiration from? A lot of it comes from a counseling course. Things that I've read, things that I've learned, things that I've kind of stumbled upon. I tend to think a lot about people and, what kind of things they need and what kind of things might be helpful for people to hear. I like helping people. I care about people, and I listen to people a lot. Like, a lot of people want to talk to me about what they're going through. I'm a pretty good listener, and so I think a lot of people just kind of communicate stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, that would probably be helpful for other people to hear too. Like, in the process of helping them, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe other people need to hear that as well. The Discord server with all my little rain clouds is full of people who are inspiring, full of people who are needing help, full of people discussing issues and supporting each other and stuff. So yeah, that definitely helps too. Do you have previous experience working with audio, or was your work here your first? I've dabbled around with recordings on the internet a little bit, but mostly I think the vast majority of stuff has been for YouTube, and YouTube has sort of been there for the duration of my audio career, quote unquote. I'm entirely self-taught. I've never taken a class on it. I have never studied audio engineering or anything like that. It's all self-taught, and through some basic guides on how to use like Audacity and things, but mostly just trial and error. And it's still my audio skills are not fantastic. I'm certainly a lot better than I used to be. My program that I use is just Audacity, which is a free program. It's like pretty decent, but it's nothing incredible. My audio is my microphone is a pretty entry level microphone. It's a Blue Yeti. My recording space is terrible. I'm unfortunately I can't afford to get like a proper recording booth or anything. So I'm recording in an environment that is not very good, and my computer is real loud, and it's not like a whole lot that I could really do about that from what I'm aware, but yeah, so it's pretty amateur stuff. I don't really have a lot of experience with audio. I started off like recording some other things in other places, but pretty soon after, I think, the audios that I was making, I just sort of brought over here, and so it's pretty much my first. What are 3 flowers that you like, and why? I don't really like flowers, to be honest. They tend to make me sneeze, or like they irritate my nose. I don't get along with nature very much. Flowers. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really a flowers kind of guy. Like, I don't. If you give me flowers as a gift, I'm just gonna be like, what do I have to do with these? when can I get rid of them? They're pretty to look at from a distance, but I'm not really a flowers guy. What are flowers that are nice? I don't think I'm like a particularly big fan of the rose or anything. Snapdragons are weird and kind of ugly and kind of nice. My mum really likes camellias. Maybe camellias, they're okay. What is another one? Let's say lilacs. I don't actually know what lilacs look like. I think they're like kind of purple from the name. Lilacs. They're like kind of pretty, I guess. I think I tend to prefer like the singular big flower rather than like the lots of teeny tiny ones. Jacaranda blossoms are kind of nice. We've got a lot of jacarandas around here. Sure, let's go with that. What's the most exotic food you've ever had or want to try? I don't really eat a lot of exotic foods, to be honest. I kind of talked about this a bit in an audio called It's Just Barbecue Sauce. But I guess maybe the most exotic food I ever had was Mongolian beef, and I did not care for it. It was not to my palate at all. What is your favorite ice cream flavor? Chocolate chip. Chocolate ice cream with chocolate chips in it. Just give me all the chocolate. It's great. Is there something new you really want to try out in the future? Probably. Trying new things is tough. I was considering joining a choir for a while, and I might do that eventually, but it's not something I really want to do. What would I want to try? I want to try doing practical counseling experience. I want to try doing that. Yeah, I don't know. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. Maybe something will come to me later. How do you stay motivated to do things? That's my secret, Cap. I'm never motivated to do things. No, that's not true. I do. I have depression, and that makes it tough to be motivated to do pretty much anything at times. But I am on medication, and that certainly helps. I would recommend looking into medication if you are depressed. It can be very helpful in just clearing away the fog and helping you get stuff done. But stay motivated. I guess this kind of ties into one of my previous audios, saying I want to instead of I should. But yeah, just trying to like identify what you actually get from doing the thing and recognizing why it's in line with your values or why it's important to you, or what the benefit is in some sense. And just try and be mindful of that. I looked at an interesting sort of CBT technique, cognitive behavioral therapy technique, where you rate on like a scale of 1 to 100 or 1 to 10 or whatever, how much effort you think something is going to take. And you also rate on a scale of 1 to 100 or whatever the same scale is, how much pleasure you think it will bring you, or benefits in some sense. But it's easy to start with pleasurable activities. So like going out to the movies with your friends, how much effort do you think it's going to involve? And how much pleasure do you think it's going to bring you? And then go and do that thing, even if you don't feel like it. And then after you've done it, scale it again. Like, look at how much difficulty, how much effort it actually took, and how much pleasure it actually gave you. And you'll typically find that the before and after are very different. And you learn that actually your brain is like really bad at predicting how much effort something's going to take and how much pleasure it's going to get from it, particularly if you're depressed. Like, everything is just going to be so wildly different. And that's really helpful evidence and information to have so that you can point to it and go, no brain, you're actually full of shit. Look at all of these times before when you're like, oh, it's too much effort and it's not going to be good. It was actually great. And your assessment of things is not reliable. So I'm not just going to do exactly what you say. I'm not just going to listen to you. I can challenge you. I can challenge that feeling of, I don't want to, by saying, no, actually, it'll be easier than I think, and it'll be more fun than I think. So that's a trick you can try. If you had to live in another country, where would you live and why? I don't know. Canada, maybe? Canada would be very different weather-wise, because it is very hot in Australia and typically pretty cold in Canada, I think. Canada seems pretty chill. You know, some wildlife issues, some weather issues, some not so great stuff maybe, but like healthcare and things, like, pretty good. It seems like a fairly pretty place. I probably won't burn to death, which is a risk in Australia. I'm not affected by the bushfires at all. Don't worry. But yeah, it's I don't know. Canada's probably like pretty chill. I don't really know if I'd want to go anywhere in particular. I'm not much of a traveler, but yeah, maybe Canada. What wild animal do you wish you could have as a pet, and why? I don't want any wild animal as a pet because they are a wild animal. And number one, I don't think that's going to be great for me. And number two, I don't think it's going to be great for the animal. And I'm not really a pet guy anyway. But when I was a kid, I used to want to have like a turtle because I thought turtles were cool. Turns out they smell terrible, potentially at least. And I think they'd be kind of a pain to take care of, and probably not a very exciting pet either. Are you an extrovert or an introvert? So I don't think it's like strictly delineated like that. I think a lot of people are really a mixture of the two. Like, in certain situations, I will be quite extroverted, and in other situations, I will be very introverted. I used to think of myself as much more of an introvert, but I think we're all ambiverts to a degree. I think we all have different traits in different situations, and different people that we feel comfortable around, and different ways that we like to express ourselves or be social. I need social interaction and friend time with people, but I also need time to myself. I need time to recover and recharge and replenish my energy. And social interaction can drain me as well. So, a bit of both, I think. Favorite movie genre? I don't know. Man, it's so many good movies and so many good movie genres. I like sci-fi movies. Superhero movies are fun. Comedies are pretty great. Yeah, I don't know. Let's say sci-fi, right? I loved Star Wars as a kid. Good recommendations for science fiction. Moon by Duncan Jones is a really good sci-fi movie with Sam Rockwell. Maybe something a little bit different that you might not have seen. There was a nice movie back a few years ago called Robot and Frank. And it's about like an old man who I think has like dementia or something. And he has like a little robot companion to kind of assist him and help slow that decline and help him to like get back into healthy routines and keep him company and stuff. And the old man used to be a like a cat burglar or something, and so the robot's like, okay, well, it seems like you really care about crime, and in the interest of helping you to like re-engage with interests and stimulate your brain, I guess I'll help you pull off a heist. And it's like really cute and funny, and it's nice. Yeah, it's a fun movie. Can you do any voices or accents? If so, which ones, and which would be your favorite? I can do loads of voices and accents. It is a big skill of mine. I'm very good at doing voices and accents, but I don't tend to do them on this channel very much because I made a specific choice to try and be myself and learn to be more comfortable being myself, and not pretending to be someone that I'm not. So it actually really bugs me when people tell me that I sound like other people, and they mean it as a compliment, but I don't take it that way because I'm not trying to be that person. I'm trying to be me. And yeah, it actually bugs the hell out of me, particularly this one guy that I supposedly sound like. Yeah, I could do loads of voices and accents. I don't know that I'm really like so much of an impressionist guy. I tend to just like making up my own voices. I used to do loads of voices for characters in Dungeons and Dragons. I'd make up voices and accents for my own characters. I would, if I was playing the DM, the dungeon master, I would make up voices for all the different non-player characters that the players would bump into. Yeah, God, I don't know. So many times I would do voices. I love doing voices. I just play around with them for fun, and I often am pretty silly and playful with my voices, and I just do them randomly when I'm hanging out with people or playing games or whatever. Reading stories to my nephews and things like that. You can hear some of that in probably most of the bedtime story audios, some of the game videos. I think like Turmoil. I think I did some voices there. Anything else that I've done? Maybe some impressions here and there. Yeah, I don't know. But I've definitely got a lot of voices and yeah, accents. I used to in class in high school, I used to read out passages of the textbook in foreign accents. To the entertainment of the class. People really like that, and they just throw out like random accents that they get me to do. American accents, Scottish accents, Irish, German, French, whatever. One time we had a substitute teacher, and just to mess with her, I decided to do a Scottish accent for the duration of that class. And my friend could not stop laughing, and he got in trouble with the teacher because the teacher thought that he was making fun of my accent, because I was genuinely from Scotland, but in fact he was just laughing because it was fake. But she bought it, and he got in trouble, and it was very funny. Yeah, I don't know. Am I meant to do the voices or accents, or just describe them? Who knows? Yeah, lots of English accents. Very sort of standard fantasy kind of region that you tend to do, right? You've got the more sort of posh nobles and the lower class gruff kind of criminals and mercenaries and things. Let's pull out some, shall we? So, I mean, you can do more of a sort of refined accent like this, and you can have a noble who's perhaps more on the menacing side, and throw in a bit of an aristocratic sort of vibe to it. And of course, you can take a softer, a gentler sort of approach, although typically this sort of voice is reserved for villains or a more sort of effeminate sort of nobles. And then, you can have the also Cockney geezer gonna stab you in a dark alley kind of thing, or you can do more like a gruff kind of mercenary kind of thing like this, and have more of a sort of slight menace to your voice, and is often very raspy, isn't it? And I don't know, it's tough knowing exactly how to play things sometimes, but I don't know. You can kind of play around with things differently. Sometimes you just mix like random like regional accents together or different nationalities together to create something that sounds a bit different, a bit intentionally foreign. For example, you might mix together something like a Welsh accent and something a bit more Scandinavian like this, so that it sounds a bit different from things that you have seen before. You might want something that sounds very ancient and foreign, perhaps with a bit of a German twist to it, which seems to be what I'm doing. I don't know. I do lots of things. Like you do like some dwarves, and of course you've got the sort of stereotypical like Scottish kind of dwarf like this, and you can have more of a guttural kind of howl to it. I don't know, like all sorts of things really. You just kind of make things up, and I think different accents can have different sort of emotion to them, or different kind of associations. You mix and match like classes and regions and things like that. I don't know. Lots of weird sort of things you just mix around. My voice tends to be quite deep, and so it can be tougher to do like female characters and things. So I think a lot of my characters tend to just be male. But I think even just putting a little bit more of a lightness to your voice, like this, and having a more delicate tone can kind of communicate a very different physical presence. I mean, you can use body language and things too, but I don't know. I like playing around with things. And of course, age can be a factor as well. Making an older sounding character, someone perhaps more academic, a scholar or priest perhaps, someone with a great wistfulness for the past and a lot of regret about what he has done or not done. I don't know. Just random shit like that. Yeah, playing around is great fun. I really enjoy doing voices. I don't do it as much anymore, but certainly just being playful and being creative. I personally, it's unfathomable to me that someone would play D&D or some other kind of role-playing game and not do a voice. It's so much fun to just be a different kind of person and use your voice so differently. I had a character who was a sort of mixture of a cleric of trickery, kind of a roguish type, and eventually like a wizard too. But he was I don't even really remember how he would speak, but I think it was a very skilled manipulator and had an eloquent way with words and could be very charming and mysterious. And He was very good at convincing people that they wanted what he wanted, but it was their idea. And yes, he would woo the ladies sometimes, potentially. There was this one girl, more of a sentient battleship with the spirit of a deceased girl, really, but he would charm her, and they had a sort of relationship together. And it was meant to be sort of a mixture of a sort of dusky Mediterranean feel, maybe sort of a Spanish swashbuckler mixed with more like a Middle Eastern kind of religious, spiritual aspect, perhaps. I think that's how he talked. I don't really remember, to be honest. But yeah, just lots of different kinds of voices and accents. Lots of fun. I think that's about it for the questions. There's probably one or two more, but I think that's a good place to end it because this is a bit of a long one. Yeah, I hope that you enjoyed listening to me answer these questions and ramble on. If you have more questions and want me to do another one of these at some point, feel free to ask more questions in the comments, I guess. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this, and let me know what you thought. Until next time, my rain clouds. Bye-bye.